Hello, this is Jessica with On a Stack of Books, and today is going to be my reading wrap-up for October. And the books that I read in October are right here. So we will go through them. And the first one is The Shining. This has it has Salem's Lot, Night Shift, and Carrie, but I only read The Shining out of it. This was my first Stephen King book, and I did enjoy it. I did not enjoy this big, chunky, heavy hardback book, but I enjoyed it. It did not meet my expectations as far as being scary. I think that could be because I've seen the movie. It could be because I'm just familiar with the story, and so I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I liked it. I didn't think it was that far off from the movie as I had been told. Certainly there was things that happened, like the shrubs definitely came alive more in the book, but it really focused on Jack and his drinking, and then Danny and his shining ability, and how that plays into the Overlook Hotel and how that sort of gets a hold of them. So it was a good Halloween October read, but yeah, I wanted it to be scarier. I thought it was going to be scarier. Not unhappy that I read it, but I did watch, oh gosh, and I think it's Gavin Reads, and I'm sorry, I'll post it on here. I'll put the correct, but he did he's gonna read all of Stephen King, and so I watched that video and I was like, oh, this will be very good information, because he sort of sorted it as what his favorites were and why. And he did say that Salem's Lot was very scary, and so I do want to read Salem's Lot because I was looking for more scary. I think that's what I was going for, but I'll link his video for that. The next one was Breed by Chase Novak. This was probably the first horror book that I've read, and that may not be accurate, but what I can think of right now and what I would constitute as horror, and it's listed as a horror novel, and it's horrific. But a husband and wife, they are having trouble conceiving, and within their support group, friends of theirs that are also having trouble conceiving, they learn about this doctor that has some revolutionary and very successful treatments for these people, and he is in Slovenia. And so they go, and of course, in this story, he's rich, so money is not really a problem for them to pay for this treatment. And they go, and the treatment itself is horrific and painful. The husband really wants this. He really wants children, and he's really pushing her to do this. She doesn't really want, she wants children, but I think at this point they've tried for so long, she's over it. And so she's not completely on board, and so it's pretty thrust upon her, and so that's a little unnerving. And so his treatment does work, they do get pregnant, but then there's physical changes that are unsettling, and they're not quite sure what's going on, and they're kind of like, okay, this is not what we thought. And fast forward, they have the children, and in the story, they have to lock the children up at night. They have twins. She actually is pregnant with triplets, but they have twins. And they lock the children up at night, and the kids are sort of afraid of their parents, but they're not. And during the day, they go to school and life seems like normal. But they're kind of like, what are they doing? Why are we being locked up? And so you're not really sure what's happening, but you do know that the parents are going through almost like a transformation, and it's definitely from these fertility or from whatever the doctor gave them, because he gives it to both of them. And so it goes along, and so I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but like there's graphic things, and there's yeah, it's a little horrific, but it's what I don't know if, yeah, I guess if you're a horror fan, because it also ends horrifically, so, but I guess that's like the you know, the whole idea of this genre. But so the children become the catalyst to change things, the home dynamic, to figure out what's going on, and yeah, it doesn't end well. So okay, so that was Breed. And then for our book club, we did Dr. Jekyll, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I had this paperback, but I did quickly switch over to the audio version, and it was through, on an iPhone, you can have the classics for free, and so this was one of them that was for free. And so I think it was only like 2.5 hours. It was a very short book, so so that was nice because it was extremely wordy. And but of course I knew the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and as I'm listening to it, I'm picturing the movie Mary Riley, and which is a fantastic movie, and it is the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And it was really cool because the perspective, mainly what I took away from it, was the solicitor that is managing his affairs, Dr. Jekyll, his affairs, and he's not sure why Dr. Jekyll has entrusted this Mr. Hyde with so much, as far as being available to his home and his assets, and things are left to him, and he's just kind of like, he's not a civilized gentleman, you know, why would he associate with this person? And so he is really the one that is concerned about his friend and his client, and there's other characters, but you know, so during book club, as we discussed it, for some reason that was the and it was now the name escapes me, because there was it Ullman? Utterson, not Ullman, Utterson. So I, for some reason, in listening to it, sort of followed along with Utterson, but he had other friends who picked up on things, and so you know how that's the wonderful thing about book club, is that you miss certain things and other people pick up on or zero in on other parts of the book while they're listening, reading, and so it is wonderful to discuss with other people and get their interpretation of, you know, but it was you know, it was good. It was perfect timing. I really wanted to read this or listen to it, and so around Halloween it just seemed like so fitting. So very good, very very wordy. I would highly recommend the audio version versus the paperback, because I think I would have had to go back and reread and been exhausted by the detail, I think. So this was for book club. This was wonderful for October. We had all agreed that we wanted to read that, so that was good. And then I did a reread of Relic, and this year I really wanted to reread specifically Clan of the Cave Bear and Relic, because these two books stood out in my mind as really great, and when I was in my early 20s and even younger with Clan of the Cave Bear, they just were like, you know, my favorite. And this one stood out to me because it was sort of that creepy, dusty old museum, And I just remember loving it. And then it got me on the series of Pendergast, the FBI agent. And so I wanted to reread it and see if it still landed the same way. And I was really sort of disappointed that this one did not land with me the same way it did 20, 30 years ago when I read it. You know, you forget things. You forget like how it started, and it didn't start in the museum. It started on the expedition where they, you know, were looking for this relic, but specifically a tribe that they did not think, this one scientist did not think had gone extinct, and he was looking for proof, and he stumbled upon a carving statue, a relic of the depiction of one of these, like it's the MBU, it's very hard to pronounce, Mabui. I'll put the spelling up, and I felt myself pushing through and reading it, but not enjoying it the way that I did the first time. I still really like Pendergast, but the other characters were sort of tiresome to me, the different scientists and the politics of what was happening in the museum. And you know, they've got several murders that have happened that appear animalistic in nature, and yet they are like, well, we can't close the museum because that's bad for business. We have this exhibition that is, you know, advertised and ready to go, and so the right thing to do is just, you know, brush it under the rug and keep going, because we don't want to attract bad attention to the museum. And, you know, and so the FBI agent is like, you can't, because it's going to be a feeding frenzy, and they don't know what's going on, but it's not like people are getting shot in the head or something very specific. They're being attacked and mauled, and, you know, it's so now when I'm reading it, I'm a little bit like yeah, so just, it sort of disappointed me that I didn't feel the same way about it. But that's why I wanted to reread it, because I was curious and I wanted to see if it would. So I am going to continue with the series, because this is the first one, then Reliquary, and then the Still Life with Crows, because again, I really loved Pendergast, who was the FBI agent, and so I will continue and see. But so that was the reread. So that was something that I wanted to do. I did, and I even got through the second book on Clan of the Cave Bear. I don't think I'm going to read Reliquary. I think I'm just going to jump to the third one and see if I like it and can carry on. And then I tried to just, like, as a palate cleanser and as a just for fun, I picked this up. She does sort of fantasy romance. This Christine Feehan, I've read several of hers and I really like them, and so I was like, oh, I'll just grab it and kind of in between the spooky or the, you know, different things, and I got to page 176, and there was by the third typo, just stupid, you know, like a misspelling, or the word wasn't used correctly, and like it should have been plural and it was single, you know. And the storyline was so not realistic that I could not. So I don't know if it's the Shadow Writer's novel. So maybe if I started with the first one and I just had this one and I picked it up and I sort of jumped in the middle, but it just seemed so unrealistic, and so I wasn't loving the storyline. And by the third typo, I was like, I'm not reading this. I'm not. So I sort of just stopped, and that was that. And I was disappointed because I've read several of hers and I really like them. But this one I didn't like. And the editor missed 3 so far. I'm sure there's probably 1 or 2 more in the second part of the book. But yeah, I didn't like it. Okay, so I almost forgot the other book that I read this month was The Dead Man of Storr, and I forgot because I already regifted it. I don't know why I regifted it so soon, but it went into one of the little free libraries, and normally I try to keep like the month, but anyway, that's why I forgot, because I don't have the physical copy here. But it is the second book in the J.M. Dalgliesh in the Misty Isle series, where he is D.I. Duncan, and he is back in his hometown in Scotland, where he grew up investigating a murder. And this is an art dealer. And you know, things aren't adding up, as you know, any murder investigation, but so this is the second book in this series, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying sort of like, it's a more of a slow paced, you get a little sprinkling of his childhood, and his mom is sick with Alzheimer's, dementia, and so he's dealing with family issues. He runs into an old girlfriend, and friends, and dealings in the community as he's investigating. So it was really good, and you know, of course they wrap it up at the end, but I am enjoying it. I have 2 more in that series, and so I will slowly just read those because I do enjoy them, and I'll try not to give it away so quickly, so the next time I have the physical copy, but I will put the image up. But yeah, so that was the other book that I read, and it was very good. So this was October, and so not a bad reading month, because I'd been wanting to read The Shining, and I did a really quick review here because I did a whole read with me, walk with me video for The Shining, where I went into it a lot more. And so I'd really wanted to read The Shining. I really wanted to read The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyl and Mr. Hyde, and I really wanted to reread Relic this year. And so I feel like, even though maybe they weren't like the best reads that I've had, it was something that I had planned and wanted to do. So got to check that off the list. So so this was October, and yeah, I'm happy with it. Again, like I said, not happy with it because they were fantastic reads, but happy to kind of, you know, figure out if I liked it or not, and completed something that I wanted to start. How about that? So, all right, well, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you, and until next time, I will be reading.